In the beginning, there was nothing. But then, in a sudden burst of pure creation, a mystical force known as the Zero Point came into existence, alongside all life itself, not just in our world, but an infinite number of realities across the endless multiverse. One of these realities created by the Zero Point falls under the classification of Reality 783, and is subsequently home to the island of Oninoshima. In the olden days, this island housed many different families and tribes, such as the Elegant River Guard and the mystical Fox Clan. At a certain point in time, an ancient order of masked artisans joined forces with the Fox Clan, using their extensive knowledge of magic to create a powerful set of artifacts known as the Masks of Power. The Masks of Power were so, well, powerful in nature that they had the ability to bring about total destruction and absolute ruination should they fall into the wrong hands. And fall into the wrong hands they almost did. Sometime after their creation, a dimension known as the Spirit Realm emerged on the island, bringing with it a dastardly force of demonic warriors who attempted to seize control of the world's magic for their own nefarious purposes. The resulting conflict would go on to be known as the Shattering War, and would see Oninoshima plunged into pure and utter chaos. Eventually, though, the demon warriors were defeated in a final battle that took place in the Nightshift Forest, resulting in them being forever banished to whence they came. Now that the island was at peace once more, drastic measures were enacted to ensure the demons would never return again. The masks were destroyed, and magic in general was banished from the realm. But now, fast forward to an unknown amount of time later. After eons upon eons of abuse by multiple participants, mainly the Imagined Order, the precious Zero Point was at the end of its road. Through the combined efforts of Agent Jones, Dr. Sloan, and the player character, the Zero Point was finally put out of its misery, resulting in a big bang that splintered shards of the Zero Point across the Omniverse. Whether it be intentional or pure coincidence, one of these Zero Point shards made their way back to Reality 783. The impact of the Zero Point shard resulted in a huge reality wave surging across the island, being so powerful in nature that it reawakened the dormant magic of the island, which subsequently reactivated the gates to the spirit realm, allowing the demonic forces the chance to resurface. Which finally brings us to the subject of today's video. Leading the charge of this new generation of demons is a cunning warrior, whose soul is as black as the night, and whose combat capabilities are as sharp as a rose's thorns. Her intentions are plain and simple: sow chaos in Oninoshima and bring it to its knees so that the demons may conquer the land. Or at least, that's what it seems like on the surface. In truth, this woman's intentions, as well as her very existence, appear to be entirely fabricated without her consent at the hands of a much darker evil. This is the story of the Night Rose, Fortnite's most tragic villain. The Night Rose is a character that first made her appearance in Chapter 6 Season 1 of Fortnite. In the cinematic trailer that accompanied the chapter's release, the Night Rose found herself on the run by two individuals: Kendo, a Reality 783 native, and Hope, a seasoned warrior who arrived to the island at around the same time the Zero Point shard did. The Night Rose led the two do-gooders on a wild goose chase across the island, luring them to a portal containing a monstrous warrior known as Shogun X. The four engaged in battle, and while all four of them fought valiantly, they all inevitably retreated to certain parts of the map, with the Night Rose in particular falling back to a location known as the Demon's Dojo. The Night Rose comes with two major appearances. Her default style is that of a young woman with notable demonic features, such as pitch black eyes, pale white skin, and small horns protruding from her head. She wears a red, white, and black Japanese kimono over a similarly colored set of armor. Her second unlockable style is known as the Tactical Night Rose, and it drastically changes the character's look. The character now features striking yellow eyes, purplish skin, slightly larger horns, and a tactical set of armor in place of her kimono. The most notable thing worth pointing out here is the Night Rose's cosmetics and how prevalent the theme of puppetry is within them. Her backbling and glider, known as the Cursed Marionette and Puppet's Prowl, are wooden imitations of the demon. On top of that, she comes with an emote called Puppet Dance. As the name suggests, it features the character dancing around with very stiff, puppet-like movements, their arms and legs attached to the strings and a puppet controller. The Night Rose's cosmetics aren't the only thing to keep up this puppet charade, as her in-game appearance heavily relies around it as well. If one were to land at the aforementioned demon's dojo and make their way to the center building, they'll find the character's body hanging limp by the hands of a sinister-looking mask. This entity is known simply as the Puppeteer, and if one were to engage in combat with them, they sick the Night Rose upon the player. Defeating the demon will not only result in the Puppeteer resurrecting the poor soul, they'll openly join the fight by teleporting around the arena and launching fireballs at you. The only way to damage this powerful foe is to aim for the mask's eyes, which eventually result in the Night Rose coming back to life to fight for her master. We'll get into what happens when you defeat the Puppeteer in a hot minute, but for now, I want to focus on what this all means. If it isn't already extremely obvious, the implications here are that the Night Rose herself is nothing more than a lifeless husk being controlled by a higher power. She's a literal puppet, forced to dance for the amusement of whoever the puppeteer is behind the giant mask. Seems like a pretty cut and dry case, doesn't it? But much like my previous lore videos, this isn't the full story. The real story of the Night Rose is described in great detail by the character herself in their official jam track. Before we get into analyzing the lyrics to this track, it's important to point out that the song is sung almost entirely in Japanese. This is a slight problem because
I don't speak Japanese.
So I'll primarily be relying on the Genius website's English translation going forward. Just keep in mind that the translation might not be one-to-one with the actual lyrics, but, you know, without further ado, let's begin. So, there's quite a lot to analyze from these first set of lyrics. First and foremost, the song establishes that the Night Rose was, at one point in time, her own independent demon. A demon who seemingly made a ton of regrettable choices that ultimately weakened her mental state and subsequently allowed the puppeteer to take control of her. It's also pretty clear that this song serves as a cry for help. The woman who would become the Night Rose reaching out for salvation that would never come. That doesn't mean she's giving up, however, as the character openly states her intentions to break free from her captor. This sense of rebellion is further emphasized as the song continues. Like I said, these lyrics make it very clear that, after who knows how long of being a slave, the Night Rose is ready to take her life back from the entity that currently has dominion over her. Speaking of this mysterious entity, the next set of lyrics we'll be going over seems to give a ton of context to just how the Night Rose was able to fall under their spell.
私はずっと巡って幸せ僕の背中には真っ白な大きな機体の羽がついてそれが偽りでも僕はそれでいいやって思えるから Lost away, lost away 迷い込む迷い込む迷い込む Find a way, find a way 一つも一つもそっと
The beginning of the second verse just repeats what we already know, that being that the Night Rose's actions aren't her own. However, that section towards the end and the lead into the bridge really stuck out to me. To me, the line, even in times like those, we were just happy to just go back and forth like that, reads as a confirmation that the Night Rose, prior to her enslavement, used to communicate with her would-be master. It's entirely possible that the puppet master knew of the Night Rose's many questionable life choices and offered a supportive hand to the girl. Obviously, they never really intended to be there for the Night Rose, but they still offered a shoulder to cry on in her time of need. Now, the lines, "On my back, there's huge pure white mechanical wings," even though I know they're fake, I think I'm okay with that, could potentially read as the Night Rose's initial acceptance of the puppeteer's help. They offered the Night Rose a chance to wash away their sins, but they only did that so that they could get into her mind. I think the bridge of this song backs up my assumption, as it reads as the newly enslaved Night Rose grappling with the reality that she allowed herself to be tricked into this position. She lost her way, she went astray, and now she needs to find a way to save herself. And save herself she will, as the outro to the song has the Night Rose once again declaring her desire to write her own story, free from the puppeteer's control. So, to recap, the Night Rose was once a seemingly innocent demon who, after making a series of questionable life choices, allowed herself to be coerced by an entity known as the Puppeteer, resulting in her mind and body being taken over. Following the 0-point shard crash landing in Reality 783, the Puppeteer used the Night Rose's body to lead a demonic invasion of the island Oninoshima, all while the unwilling woman cries out for someone to save her. She's determined to one day reclaim her freedom and write her own story once more. And, well, that opportunity seems to be right on the horizon. There was a period in Chapter 6 Season 1's lifetime where defeating the Puppeteer and the Night Rose only resulted in you gaining the character's weapons and medallion. That was until January 14th, 2025 was the release of update V33.20. Now, instead of just dropping loot, a new version of the Night Rose character will spawn in as an NPC. This version of the character uses a style known as the Restored Night Rose. And as you can probably infer by the name, this is the Night Rose when she's free from the Puppeteer's grasp. When asked about the Puppeteer, she admits that the mask is only that of a projection. She also mentions that her freedom in this form is limited, but speculates that once her captor is defeated, she'll finally walk free once and for all. Now, originally, this was the point in the video where I started speculating about the Night Rose's future and what that could potentially entail. However, the most recent live event more or less answered all of my questions in relation to the demon. To give a quick summary, since this video is already obscenely long, Shogun X was the entity controlling the girl this entire time, and her relation to him is that she used to train his forces prior to her enslavement. Upon his defeat at the hands of Daigo, Shogun X's grasp on the Night Rose was loosened once and for all. Her fate moving forward isn't currently known at this time, but one thing's for sure, she finally gets the chance to tell her own story. The Night Rose has quickly become one of my favorite Fortnite original villains, due in part to the struggles she's faced thus far. Fortnite has had a laundry list of different villains over the years, but in my opinion, none of them have really had relatable goals or have made decisions I can get behind. Sure, you've had characters like Geno and Dr. Sloan who are trying to create a perfect utopia, but it's always at the expense of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. And then you've got the megalomaniacs trying to destroy all life in the Omniverse, so they're definitely not sympathetic in the slightest. Maybe it's not fair to classify her as a traditional villain, given she's nothing more than a puppet for a much greater force. But honestly, I think that's why I like her story so much. She started out as a traditional quote-unquote evil Fortnite character, and over time, evolved into something much more. And that's pretty damn cool, plain and simple. I'm incredibly excited to see the Night Rose's story continue to unfold in the coming months, as well as the Grand Chapter 6 story as a whole. Every story thread has genuinely captured my interest, so I'm looking forward to Season 2 and what it has to offer. As always, thank you for watching and making it to the end. What are your thoughts on the Night Rose? Did you take the time to look up the translation for her jam track, or was this the first time you've seen the English lyrics? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, like and subscribe for more Fortnite lore videos. Be sure to use my code MAX66 in the item shop, and join my Discord server to stay up to date on future releases. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one.